Hello guys and welcome to United's Glory. Manchester United draw 1-1 at West Brom. Relegation fodder, Big Sam's West Brom, who leak goals left, right and centre, and we once again bottle it. Now, look, there's a lot of things that went on in that game that were just ridiculous. I mean, the ref was atrocious. I'm not blaming the ref for this because as far as I'm concerned, we should still beat teams like West Brom even with ridiculous referees like that anyway. Of course, people are going to want to blame Lindelof for that first goal, but I thought he was fouled. I mean, I remember watching wrestling, WWF in the 90s, and there was a guy called Mankind who used to put a sock in his hand and stick it down people's mouth. Apparently that's legal in Premier League football now. Honestly. And the worst thing is commentators always seem to let smaller teams get away with it. Because apparently it's fighting spirit. Only in the Premier League do you get away with that. In La Liga, Bundesliga, Serie A, that's not condoned. But for some reason, the Premier League commentators think it's brilliant. Fighting spirit. Let's smack a guy in the face and then give loads of other fouls that are far worse than that. And all of a sudden, it's a free kick. It was a free kick on Lindelof. Sure, you can say he could have been stronger, but as far as I'm concerned, it was a foul. You try and head the ball with a hand in your face. Anyway, look, my problem isn't the mistakes or the referee, is as far as I'm concerned, your manager's got to set you up to score as many goals as possible against a relegation fodder team. They will get relegated. They deserve to get relegated because that's how they play. Teams that play like that deserve to get relegated. As far as I'm concerned, Ole set us up to, win 1 or 2-0. That's what the 4-2-3-1 formation does. It wins you games 1 or 2-0 at best. It's not going out there to completely dominate and pepper a team. Ole sent out a bottlers formation against West Brom away. We did not need 2 defensive midfielders, even in the slightest. Look, I know Fred and McTominay aren't your typical defensive midfielders, but they are both deep-lying midfielders. You can say both of them do like to press forward a little bit, but they will very rarely penetrate the opposition box. I know McTominay scored a few goals this year, but they're generally long-range shots. We should have had another man next to Bruno to make runs into the box and free up more space for Bruno. Bruno had a poor game today other than that wonder goal, which ultimately saved Ole from losing this game. But, we didn't bring Van der Beek. And I know Van der Beek does literally nothing. He's just a passing player. I'm sorry, but I'm not... But I massively complained about Van der Beek in the last game because he's too passive. He doesn't want to take any authority over the game. And he came on and did exactly the same thing today. Ultimately did nothing. But then he didn't really have enough time to do anything today. So it's one of those really. But at the same time, why didn't Solskjaer feel the need to really take the game to West Brom and score 4 or 5 goals here? Because that's what he should have been going to do. But no. Playing 2 deep-lying playmakers. I've been saying for ages, I know Bruno scores wonder goals and makes moments of magic, but in terms of his all-round creativity, it's dipping at the moment because he's playing too much. Teams are figuring him out. He needs a break mentally. He might be physically okay, but the guy needs a break mentally as far as I'm concerned in terms of his creative prowess, etc. Martial needs to be dropped. He should be dropped. As far as I'm concerned, we're allowing Martial to play and it's not beneficial to the team at the moment. Now, I've been a massive Martial fan. I've been Martial FC. But at the end of the day, if we're going to play Cavani, then Martial should be on the bench. Because as far as I'm concerned, Rashford deserves to be playing on the left-hand side at the moment. That's his most potent position. He's a major weapon for us on that left-hand side. As far as I'm concerned, how the team is built at the moment, Rashford, just like Bruno really, apart from the fact I think Bruno needs a rest, Rashford should be one of the first names on the team sheet on that left-hand side of the forward line because he terrorises defence. Even today, Rashford was in the game on the right-hand side. He did far more than Martial, despite Martial playing in a more favoured position. The game passed Martial by. I mean, I'm not giving up on Martial yet, but, he deserves to be on the bench. There's no doubt about it. He absolutely deserves to be on the bench. Cavani's doing better than him in the striker position, and Cavani didn't play well today, but he was still more involved than Martial. But that's a bottler selection by Ole as well. Be brave, just drop him. He can always earn his way back into the team. Cavani will need breaks now and again, so make him re-earn his place. If he's going to be one of the best strikers in the world, he should be able to dislodge a world-class striker like Cavani, because that's what Manchester United demand. I mean, let's face it, Cavani's only got a few years left, and right now, Martial is not making that striker position concrete, because with the likes of Erling Haaland, Ollie's talking about getting him. He will get him, and he'll start ahead of Martial or any other major striker. Let's face it, Mason Greenwood, if he gets a few opportunities there, if he can develop his game, he'll be taking Martial's place no problem. On that left-hand side, Martial played there and did literally nothing again. I know he didn't play striker today, but at the same time, it should be Rashford. We're dulling our attacking potency by playing our on-form players out of position to accommodate other players. We're accommodating Martial. Look, I think Martial, if he's going to be a striker or a forward, he should be playing in a two up front. Maybe with a Cavani, and then you play a wide forward like Rashford in a very similar fashion to what we used to play when we had Cristiano Ronaldo, Rooney and Tevez up front. Anyway, it was just poor. As far as I'm concerned, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't have the nerve to win a title. And I know we aren't good enough to win the title, but as far as I'm concerned, every time we've played since being in that race, Ollie's bottled it. Ollie's bottled it. He's made silly decisions after silly decisions. We already know the weaknesses of our defence. At the end of the day, Bailly can't stay fit. I know, look, Lindelof and Maguire individually are both two very good centre-backs, but together, they'll play well enough. They can get us top four, sure, but will they ever win us a title? No, but we already knew that. We already knew that. Ollie took a chance with Bailly, which I can understand, but Bailly is injury prone, he isn't reliable, so we need to get a new centre-back. But that's not their fault because they're playing today. That was a foul on Lindelof, and Maguire, literally WrestleMania again, got, tombstoned near the end of the game, and the ref didn't blow. He let the guy run through on goal, only to give a free kick literally a minute later for something softer. Anyway, the referee was awful. It was like he was trying to give everything against us as much as he possibly could. And that's not just me being biased to Manchester United. It was just a poor refereeing performance, honestly. But, like I said, West Brom, we should be going to score 5 or 6 goals. If we let 1 or 2 in, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. We should be going to blitz these teams. Because if you score 5 or 6, and I know it's easier said than done, you score 5 or 6, that 1 and 2 goals that you concede isn't going to be a major problem. West Brom like packing their defence. They like defending with numbers. So the best thing to do is get more numbers further up the field for penetration. But no, of course, Ollie would rather have 2 defensive midfielders in front of his already 2 slow passing defenders. That's a bit unfair on Lindelof, to be fair, but 2 slow passing centre halves to knock the ball about them and literally do nothing. We need the ball in the final third and players who can pick the right pass in the final third. Van der Beek, even with his current performances of just keeping the ball and playing a safe ball, at least he would be doing that in the final third, not in the middle half of the pitch. It's just disappointing because we have made developments this year and we are looking to move on. And next year we've got to take another step and compete for a title properly. Because as far as I'm concerned, this year should be about finishing within 10 points of the leaders, because that will be major developments from last year. But next year, it's got to be about actually getting far closer and competing till the end of the season, staying in it till the end of the season. We're not in it anymore. If Man City win their game around, I think they'll be like 10 points clear. I mean, it's going to be bigger than that, let's face it. And for me, that's not the development we needed this year. But we have made strides this year, so I'm not going to take too much away. But the next steps are going to be competing for a title, and that's not bottling it when the opportunities come, because we haven't had that hard of a fixture list recently and we dropped far too many points, and it's because of Ollie and his negative mindset. In interviews, he's saying we're not in the title race. Why is he saying that? If you feel like that, you shouldn't be saying that out loud. Try and ride the vibes, ride the momentum, and it worries me because it's just not a champion's mindset. It honestly worries me. Take away. Teams can win league titles without having brilliant tactical prowess. For example, like a Klopp or a Pep. Teams have won titles without that kind of philosophy before. So you can win titles without that. Ollie is a great man manager. I do believe that. But the thing that's starting to worry me now is every time we seem to get in a moment of opportunity, we never seem to take it, ever. Just a few weeks ago, Ole goes to Anfield. Liverpool are injury ravaged. What does he do? Defends. And sure, Man United have done it before in the past, but that was an opportunity for us to take and really put a marker down. Only a week later in the FA Cup, he decides to attack them, and we deservedly beat them. And it's just this mindset, this mentality that worries me about Ole, because I don't think, well, maybe I'm being a bit harsh on it. Based on Van Gaal and Mourinho, they both got in positions where, United were in a bit of momentum. And when it came to changing their mindset and being more proactive with their football, they wouldn't change. There was just a massive stubbornness there. And I don't know if Ole's going to be stubborn, but I'm worried that he will be stubborn, because as far as I'm concerned, something needs to let loose in terms of playing with that freedom, playing with that idea that we will score more than the opposition no matter what. Of course, you can micromanage the defensive activities, but playing two defensive midfielders in front of your two centre-halves all the time is just, it's not Man United. Like at the start of this video, attack, attack, attack. That's what I expect of Man United. Ole knows this, but today was one of those games we could have done that. So sure, against Man City, you can't do that. Against Liverpool, you can't necessarily do that. But against West Brom, you can absolutely afford to do that. You take a lead against West Brom, they'll fall to pieces. But we never, until the 80th minute, decided to really go for it. And even then, it's just too late. When an opposition team who really wants to park the bus gets to the 80th minute, they can see the clock. They'll run it down as best they can and stop any kind of momentum. It's easier when it gets to that kind of time to defend a lead in modern football. Anyway, I've harped on. The ref was crap. But anyway, David De Gea, 7. I think he should have been dropped. But today he played well. He did what he had to do. He had one bad kick. But apart from that, he made some good saves. So a 7 out of 10 for David De Gea. I still think he deserves to be dropped, because I still think when it comes to those crunch moments, he'll make mistakes again. I'm sure of that. But at the end of the day, I'll praise him today because he had a good game today. Luke Shaw, a great cross for the first goal. To Bruno Fernandes, generally had a good game. I like this version of Luke Shaw. The team would definitely go into him a lot to create chances. A good performance by Luke Shaw, one of our better players today, a 7 out of 10. I know I'm giving 7s out, but don't worry, it gets worse. Wan-Bissaka, rubbish in the final third. Everywhere else, generally quite good. He makes good driving runs into the final third, but as soon as the ball gets to him, attack over. Like I've said, time and time again, teams will let Wan-Bissaka have the ball, because he doesn't create nothing. Now, I believe I'm not saying drop Wan-Bissaka, because in the long run, you got to look at Luke Shaw and how long he took to get to this kind of form. It was about 5 years. Wan-Bissaka's only been here a year and a half. But ultimately, what's helped Luke Shaw is having Telles compete with him. Luke Shaw's upped his game massively this year, and it's really worked for Luke Shaw. We've got to get two things, actually. A right back to compete with Wan-Bissaka and saying, look, if you don't start creating these chances and making more of the opportunities you get, because he does. It's not that Wan-Bissaka can't create chances. He has got a few assists this year. But the amount of times he gets the ball in the final third, we could do a lot more with it. And the attacks generally break down with Wan-Bissaka. But obviously we've got to get a right forward in ahead of him, because Luke Shaw and Telles are blessed with having Rashford ahead of them and Martial. Even if Martial's playing poorly, he can hold the ball in interlink. Wan-Bissaka generally doesn't have a good right forward ahead of him. It's usually Greenwood, who's not naturally that position. Rashford's not naturally that position. None of them are naturally that position. But I'm just, Wan-Bissaka in terms of his attacking play just didn't do it today. So I'm just going to give him a 4, because as far as I'm concerned, Luke Shaw did do it. Wan-Bissaka didn't do it. Lindelof, when I first saw it, I thought it was awful that he got out jumped in the second minute. Just like everyone, but upon the replays, it was a blatant foul, and I just cannot believe that went to VAR and didn't get given a free kick to Manchester United. Look, you can argue all day long, should he have been stronger? And sure, maybe he could have been stronger, but at the end of the day, get a hand put in your face like this and trying to head the ball, it's a foul. It's WrestleMania for this referee. I don't know, did we get him from the WWF or something? Useless. And then it went to VAR, and they decided. The VAR bottled it with a penalty as well. Clearly it was offside, but if you're not going to give the offside, then it's a penalty. But Lindelof, after that, I thought still had a bad game, because I felt like he was trying to compensate for that mistake. Like I said, it was definitely a foul, but then he was being rash and hesitant on those long balls, and it felt like Scott McTominay did have to, cover for him quite a lot by standing in front of the forward. I mean, plenty of teams do that. That's not a major problem. But, you know, his passing's pretty good. I do like Lindelof's passing. He's quick and precise with his passing. Whereas Maguire can sometimes take too many touches, even though Maguire is a generally good passer as well. But I'm going to give him a 3 out of 10 because at the end of the day, you can say he could have been stronger, but I still think it was a foul. Harry Maguire, mixed game really in the second half. The major mistake you'll probably think about is that thing where he literally got speared and got took down. I don't know how that's not a foul. I literally don't know how that's not a foul because, like I said earlier in the video, only a few moments later, another player basically just puts a hand on the shoulder like that and the referee books the West Brom player for bringing him down. But apparently putting 2 hands around Harry Maguire and pulling him to the ground isn't even a foul. The ref was honestly hot garbage. But, you know, Maguire was unlucky to score at the end of the game. It was actually a very good save by their goalkeeper. It's typical, isn't it? Every time we seem to come up against a goalkeeper who used to play for us or be in our reserves or be in our youth setup, they seem to have the game of their lives. It's like they're trying to prove something. But, you know, mixed game from Harry Maguire. He made a few nice drives in the box as well. I'd like to see him do that more, drive into the opposition's area. But, you know, people love to blame Harry Maguire in our defence for literally everything that happens. And I'm not even going to necessarily blame the attack today because West Brom were always going to pack their own box in their first third with a lot of men. And I blame the tactics today for not being good enough to break down a team that defend in numbers. But, you know, our attack wasn't very good today. And the attack never gets as much blame as they should get when they don't play well. We are the top, I think we're the top scorer still in the Premier League. But let's face it, 6 goals came against Leeds in a kamikaze game. Fair enough, it's still a fair result. And the 9-0 wasn't really reflective of a proper 11 versus 11 game. They had a man sent off in the second minute. You know, it was always going to be a high scoring game from there. But I'm going to give Maguire a 6. I know, but anyway, to Fred just did what Fred usually does in the middle of the park. He needs to stop shooting. He can't shoot. I think Ollie said in an interview he needs to just shoot with his left foot. I don't think he should shoot at all. He can't shoot. Some players just can't shoot. But I think everything he generally does elsewhere is usually good enough. I mean, I would have took McTominay off, not Fred, if you're going to play with one player at the base of your midfield. Because Fred gets the ball forward very quickly. He's quite press resistant. Ollie apparently said that Fred's quickened up his play. He's literally our quickest midfielder in terms of interlink and play. I don't get it. But, you know, I'm going to give Fred a 6 out of 10. He came off. McTominay just did what McTominay did. This is the problem. You can't really blame Fred and McTominay. They shouldn't have both been playing against a team like West Brom. You play them against teams that play with a high press and a quick press because they're both generally quite press resistant and they're both quite physical and get involved in the game. But against West Brom, you need creative intellect in your midfield because you're going to have to break down 4 double-decker buses. I mean, I don't blame them. It's like I don't blame players that get played when they shouldn't be playing. It's like I don't blame Matic when Matic plays when he shouldn't be playing. Matic would have been okay today because he can pass the ball and, you know, is tall. And he could have played at that base of midfield on his own while you play Van der Beek and Bruno ahead of him to create and score goals. But 6 out of 10 for McTominay today. He carried on. He didn't have a bad game, I didn't feel. Bruno Fernandes, this is what I've written. Awful. What a goal. Awful. Awful before his goal. I mean, he was giving the ball away left, right and centre. This is why we needed another player higher up the pitch to help him make room. Van der Beek would have been perfect for that. Because, you know, he was just getting crowded out constantly. As soon as Bruno got the ball, the other defences know what to do because he's our main creative spark. But then he scores a wonder goal and basically saves Ollie yet again. And then he was a little bit better after his goal, but still, you know, not good enough. Because like I say, the defences know what to do because they know he's our main creative spark. And we got Van der Beek on far too late to really impact a game. But Bruno, I don't really know what's giving me because he ultimately saved the game for us and got us a point. But, you know, I'm just going to give him a 5 because throughout the rest of the game he was awful and his goal was great. On to Rashford. I think Rashford was actually our best player today. On the right-hand side, he was causing them lots of problems, even though he's usually quite quiet when he plays on that right-hand side and is basically just, you know, a run onto the ball player. But as far as I'm concerned, he needs to be playing on that left for the whole game, every game, because other than Bruno, he's our top goal scorer. He's a weapon on that left-hand side, whereas we're literally nullifying his game, putting him on that right-hand side, and we're doing it just to accommodate Anthony Martial. I'm a fan of Martial. It sounds like I'm hating on him at the minute, but he's just not been good enough this season. Not been good enough. Cavani, I don't even think we intended to bring Cavani in, but Cavani's come in and kind of shown him how to do it up front. He has to either learn from him or he's not going to make it this team. Because sure, I'll even argue that I think Anthony Martial in terms of skills is probably better than Marcus Rashford. But Marcus Rashford can be extremely inconsistent, but he makes things happen. Moments win you games. And Martial's far too passive, whereas Rashford tries to make things happen. Even if it doesn't come on, he'll try again and again and again. It's all about mindset. That's what Cristiano Ronaldo has. If something fails, he'll just keep going. It's what Bruno has. Something keeps going. I'm not saying Rashford's as persistent as those two players, but he's far more persistent than Martial. Martial, something doesn't go well from him. I'm not going to say he sulks. I know that's the main accusation of Anthony Martial, but he just doesn't get involved. Anyway, this is about Rashford. I thought Rashford was on man of the match. Some tantalising crosses from Rashford today. I really felt Cavani and Martial should have been on the end of some of them. I honestly, thought, Rashford did quite well for us today. So I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. Anthony, I've just been speaking about Martial. So basically all the stuff I've said about Martial today, he was crap. I'm not even going to defend him. Look, you can give all the defenders all the grief you want over little mistakes, but the strikers aren't as good as we make them out to be. And Martial this year has been rubbish. We know he's got ability. We know he's got skills. But you can't be passive as a Manchester United player competing for a title. He's good enough to get you top 4, but I'm now thinking, future, we need players that can win us a title. Is Martial going to be that? Sure, he can be part of a good squad that wins the title. But I think back to the title winning teams, every player on the pitch used to play their part. We never had passive players. Martial's a passive player. And I hate to say it because he is my kind of player as well. As the kind of player I supported Man United for. I used to love the Ryan Giggses, the Kinchelskis, the Lee Sharps. All these players that came in when Cristiano came in, even before he, really set the world alight. I was like, this is the Man United kind of player. I mean, after watching when Martial goes on a glitz and run, you forget all about the fact that he can be quite passive, but he does it far too much. He's not inconsistent like Rashford, where Rashford does something crap and gives the ball away. Martial never does that kind of thing, but he never plays with any authority, and that's the problem. So I'm going to give Martial a 3. He needs to be on the bench. Put Rashford back on the left because he deserves to be on there. His form means he deserves to be playing in his best, most potent position. Cavani, I thought Cavani was poor today. He holds the ball up nicely and all that, but at the same time, there was actually quite a few good crosses, especially from Rashford today and Luke Shaw, and you expect Cavani to be getting on the end of a few of them. There's definitely a few moments where the team could be passing earlier to Cavani, but when you're playing with Fred and McTominay, that's not what they're good at. They're not good at getting a creative ball into the forward line. That's not their main skills. So, I don't know. It's just, I'm going to give Cavani a 4 because I think this has probably been one of his worst games in a United shirt. Not that, he was missing sitters or anything like that, but I don't remember him getting a single chance today. And for a striker of his calibre, he should be getting chances. And I don't feel like all the delivery was bad today. I thought, the delivery at certain times was actually good. Onto the subs, Greenwood came on. He made more of an impact than Anthony Martial. He had a chance. It was a good save by Johnston. Maybe could have still scored it. But one thing for Greenwood for me is he needs to cross it quicker, straight away, first time. That's Manchester United's problem quite a lot, as they don't cross it quick enough. They let teams pack the box, and it impedes Cavani creating room for himself. Greenwood often turns into his left foot, then he should just cross it straight away. But he's looking to, I know he's a striker, so it's almost like you can't blame him. But if he's going to plan that right, if he wants to put it onto his strong foot, fine. But as soon as you've took that touch, got yourself some space, whip. I think Wan-Bissaka's overlapping runs can really help him do that as well. He did a few good crosses in another game. I can't remember which one it was. But he's obviously, because he's a striker, he's looking to take that extra touch, beat a man and then shoot, because that's what he wants to do. But cross more. Then the defenders can't predict exactly what you're going to do more often, because I think defenders are starting to suss Greenwood out a little bit. I'm just going to give him a 5 because he didn't exactly do terribly when he came on. Van der Beek came on for 12 minutes. Like I said, this is the type of game you put him in. Even if you wanted to rest Bruno, this is the type of game you put him in. But, passive again. He looked like he wanted to keep play going. I think there was a free kick and he tried to grab the ball. A nice bit of fight there. But But, like I said in a video when he started the other day, he's got to be selfish. Otherwise, he's never breaking his way into this Manchester United team. But Ole should have played him today. But there you go. Anyway, so I'm going to give Van der Beek a 5 as well because he just didn't have any time to really impact the game. You could see him in the box. Players aren't passing to him either. And I don't get that. Even if they, maybe they want to pass to someone like Bruno Fernandes. But at the end of the day, when Van der Beek was getting in the box for us, players weren't passing to him. And it was just odd. Let him surely for the benefit of the team, you pass to him. But 5 out of 10 for Van der Beek. I don't think we made any other subs. At least I've not written it down. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I'm just going to give him a 3 out of 10 because as far as I'm concerned, this is another bottler performance. I often said that people criticising us getting to 3 semi-finals last year and losing all of them. People are looking at the negative side of it. Actually, we weren't the top 2 best teams in the league. I know you don't have to be the best team in the league to get to a final. You can have a lucky run or have a good game in a semi-final. But at the end of the day, it was consistent with what our quality was amongst us in the Premier League. We were unlucky not to make the final in the Europa League because we're actually the far better team against Sevilla. Man City in the League Cup final last year were never going to beat, and I think we rested too many players against Chelsea because Ole just didn't go for it. And we made another semi-final this year, but Man City are a better team than us. We know this. So I never really agreed with the slander Ole was getting for not winning semi-finals. But, there is a worrying theme of every time we seem to be in a position, Ole never seems to grab the ball by the horns and really go for it. And it's starting to worry me. I don't get it. He's too pragmatic against teams that you don't need to be pragmatic against. Sure, top 6 games, you don't necessarily go all out because bad things can happen if you don't play particularly well. But West Brom, you can afford to let teams like West Brom score 1 or 2 goals, providing you're actually going for it. But if you're just going to play, 2 deep-lying midfielders to pass it around with the central defenders, whilst another team is literally, I wouldn't say West Brom really part the bus today, but, they were playing very deep and compact with a lot of numbers. You don't need 2 midfielders passing it around. Get more players in and amongst them to make things happen. And as far as I'm concerned, Ole didn't do that, and then he took too long to actually change it. If he'd have got Van der Beek on at the 60-minute mark, I think we would have gone on to win that game just by packing the box. Anyway, 2 more points dropped. I never really thought it was in the title race after the last few games anyway, but, we're definitely out of it now. We won't even take Man City to the game we've got against them in the derby, where it's an option of if we win this, we might drag ourselves into the last few games potentially in the title race. We're just out of it now because obviously if we beat Man City, it's still 7 points. We aren't winning every game and they aren't dropping that many points. So it's over. It was nice while it lasted. I thought we were fortunate to be in that position. When you're in that position, like Roy Keane said, if you get yourselves into that position, you go for it. You don't talk down your chances. Just disappointed. It's just not Manchester United for me. I mean, Ole can talk about the DNA of Manchester United all he likes, but I remember when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer first came into this Manchester United team. Did he really see Ferguson ever talking like that? I don't remember Ferguson talking like that. Just disappointing. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Another disappointing day as a Manchester United fan. Do subscribe if you're new or if you love talking about Manchester United, and do smash the like button if you think Rashford was man of the match. Until next time, talk soon.